Today's June 1st, which means the Myles Garrett trade window has officially been opened. Do you guys think it will happen? It won't happen? And if it does, what are those conversations in terms of a return for Myles Garrett? Where do those conversations start? Is it a minimum of what? 2 first-round picks, 3 first-round picks, 4 first-round picks? Is anything enough?
It won't be 4, I can tell you that.
Who has 4?
Yeah, I mean.
The Jets have 3 next year.
Well, I will preface this by saying
next year.
This year is even more difficult because everybody has prognosticated that if you want a quarterback, you got to package these numbers up and get them.
Right.
So now it's like, okay, do you want a defensive end? Now, great, Myles Garrett is awesome, but people are going to be super stingy with these picks. They ain't about to just be handing over the lion's share of the bulk of the picks to get a defensive end, especially when there are about 6-7 teams that might need a quarterback. So I don't think you'll get nowhere near 4. I don't think you'll get 3.
I don't either.
I mean, you might get 1 in a possible. It might be 1 in some stuff in the future.
If you tell me right now they get 2, I'd say bye.
They get 2.
If they get 2, I would do them.
Max Crosby was fetching 2.
And he had some issues. He failed his physical.
Yeah, Max Crosby gets you
and
2.
Max Crosby's great, but he's not Myles Garrett.
And there's other picks. And listen, all we care about is 1s. I totally agree.
Yep,
it goes
I
back
don't
to the
want
quarter dollar.
That's it.
But you could get 2 1s and a 3, or 2 1s and a 2, whatever.
Here's the only thing I hate about it, guys, is this. Whoever does this deal is going to be giving us pick 29, 30, 31, 32.
Not necessarily, but probably.
You're not making this deal unless you're that piece away from a Super Bowl.
But that's what we said about the Packers, and what did that pick wind up being? I mean, he got hurt. Micah got hurt.
Yeah.
And they weren't picking at 30. I don't remember where that pick landed now, but it wasn't.
It was 23. It was 20. It was 20, and they ended up trading back to 23. But the Cowboys had 12 and 20.
Yeah, and I don't know that 20 changes your life.
Nope.
It doesn't. But 20 combined with 8 to get to 4 might.
Yeah, that part of it's true. You know what this conversation strikes? Really, it strikes a note that I've thought about for so much time over the last decade. I've told you guys on this show, and you've heard it's not breaking news, but I've had GM say, well, the most important position in the sport is quarterback.
Yes.
But the drop-off between the most important and the second most important is bigger than it is in any other sport.
Absolutely.
And the second most important position in the NFL is the guy who gets after the quarterback. And so we have the Patrick Mahomes or the, I don't want to say Tom Brady because that's going to put him in the GOAT category of all time, although I do think he's in that conversation. He's in that conversation right now. I think he's got to do it for a little bit longer, and then he is. But to show you the difference between the quarterback and the second most important player in the sport, what if, and it's not going to happen, but what if Patrick Mahomes hit the trade market? What are teams going to offer for that? And I'm not talking post ACL. 2 years ago, let's just say the Chiefs said, we're going to deal him. That conversation would be life-changing because that's the piece that you need to win a championship. You can win a championship without a Myles Garrett type defensive end. It's difficult, but you can do it. You're not winning a quarterback or a Super Bowl without, in my opinion, a top 10, top 15 quarterback. And before you say it, I think Sam Darnold is a top 10 quarterback now. I wouldn't have said that 2 years ago, but I thought after what he did in Minnesota 2 years ago and Seattle last year, he won a Super Bowl and he had a team 15-2, I think is what Minnesota finished in the regular season. He's got to be considered a top 10. So I think the haul for him would be, if you can tell me it's 2 firsts and something else, I'm going to do it. Because I feel like what are our best chances of making a Super Bowl? Letting him play out his entire career with what we have now, or trying to upgrade all of the parts around that one to get over the hump?
It's upgrading one part.
Right.
It's not even all the parts around. It's one part.
One part.
And this conversation's so difficult to have, and because, listen, I wrote after last year they should have traded him rather than extend him, and everybody went crazy and got mad. I still stand by that.
I'm with you.
But nobody wants to trade Myles Garrett. Nobody says, let's trade Myles Garrett. This is the collateral damage. This conversation is the collateral damage of the Deshaun Watson trade not working out. This is where you wind up in. And the only reason that we're even having, I think I don't know if everyone fully understands. The only reason you're having this conversation today is because Myles willingly reworked his contract to delay payment for months.
From
March to September. And nobody has provided a good reason why.
There's only one reason why.
Nobody has been able to say, and listen, Myles has plenty of money. He's not starving. He's not taking out a cash advance loan.
No.
He's doing just fine. But why would you kick the money down the road to June when you could have it in your pocket in March? All these guys, the one reason guys love playing for the Browns is because they rework the contracts to give you the signing bonus, and you get the money up front, and you get all the money in one lump check. And that's why they love playing in Cleveland for Jimmy Haslam, because they rework these contracts all the time. Why would he do that? And that's what leads to this conversation.
Is there another reason other than so they could possibly trade him?
No, there is no other reason.
I think people mistake it. I'm not saying, they did that because they're going to trade him. No. I said the day it happened, they did that because it gives them options.
It gives you optionality. If they want to trade him,
if a team comes forward and says, he's the piece.
Yeah.
And here's the offer.
Yeah.
Now at least the Browns can take that call and listen. And I think that's smart business. Keep your options open. Whatever your profession is, keep your options open.
So
and that's what that was.
I'm not even getting, and I'll let you go in a second. I'm not even hung up on Myles hasn't met Monken yet. Okay, so what?
Yeah.
Now, but
that doesn't matter at all to you.
It's weird that he's been here.
Yeah, that's where I would say it's
he's
weird.
been to Cavs games, but he couldn't bother to go around the corner. That is weird.
And it's a new relationship that you want to foster, and neither one of them have gone out of their way to do it.
But you got to understand, Jim Schwartz is his man. That was his guy.
I do, but this is a business, G. You understand that.
I get it's a business.
He's a grown man. It's June 1st. The two haven't met.
But people being emotional. You know they be emotional. They be in their feelings.
I know that.
Jay be emotional?
Yeah.
He knows nothing about being
I don't know what you're
emotional.
talking about now.
I think too, for me, I'm a pragmatist. When it comes to it, I need Myles Garrett to prop me up. I'm going to just be honest with you, bro. I need Myles Garrett to be a stopgap. If you're Andrew Berry, you got to ask yourself, selfishly, right? People always say, I'm going to do what's best for the long-term goals of the Cleveland Browns. Sure, okay, that sounds good. Yeah, but do I have the amount of cachet that I could trade to Myles Garrett and he goes somewhere else and does well? And can you survive a trade like that? Because, honestly, you got a new head coach. You got young quarterbacks. You got an offense that you're trying to implement. And the only thing that's stopping you from being completely up for grabs is the fact that you got the best defensive player and a really good defense. You probably have a top 5 defense right now. So my thing is, if Myles Garrett is still there, I don't care if he ever talk to Todd Monken. Todd Monken had to take the job knowing what it was. He took the job knowing what it was with Shedeur and Deshaun Watson. He took the job knowing that Myles Garrett probably would be a little ticked off.
Well, Jim Schwartz was still on the roster when he took the job. He didn't know that divorce was gonna happen.
Yes, but
I'm sure he took it into account. It might happen.
Yeah. So for me, I think Myles. How old is Myles now?
31.
No, I think
30?
he turns 30 this year. I'll double check.
Okay.
To me, at this point, it's hard to say this, but he's worth more.
He's 30.
On my roster than the return that I'm going to get. The return, if they wanted to, the time to get rid of Myles Garrett was 2 years ago.
Maybe, yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that.
It was 2 years ago.
Yeah, you might be closer to a finished product. You hope you are.
Yeah.
You hope you're closer to a finished product today than you were when you were winning 3 games.
The whole reason why you can advocate for trading Myles is because he has not. This is no fault of his own. He's done everything he can within his power at the position he plays. He has not impacted winning games at a high enough level because this team has 8 wins over the last 2 years. You know what the Cowboys' record was with Micah Parsons 2 years ago? 7-10. You know what the record was last year? 7-9-1.
Yeah, that's stark.
So if it's all about winning football games, because of the position he plays, because it's not quarterback, there's only so much he can do. And I'm not diminishing him as a player in any sense. He very well could go down as the greatest to ever do what he does.
Right.
But when you've won 8 games over the last 2 years, how can you look around and say he's key to winning?
That's to your argument
Jay,
that maybe
there's
4
no
quarters
better
are more than $1.
There's
if
no
you
better
get 4 good players in return for 1 great player, it helps your roster in other spots.
Yeah.
There's no better indication of that than the Patriots game this year, where Myles had 5 sacks and was unblockable, and they lost by 19 points.
Now, I will say this. We be careful what you have. What would the team look like if he wasn't there? And you got Isaiah McGuire and Alex Wright starting.
Well, here's what I say to that. We can lose that way, too.
Yeah. That I mean,
if you can give me 4 young bodies, you said nobody wants to trade Myles Garrett, and I get that, and I almost feel silly advocating for it, but it's a long play for me. Nobody wanted to trade Herschel Walker.
Of course.
But they did.
They changed the franchise.
I'm not sure how closely you followed the NFL at that point.
Oh,
but
very closely.
Herschel Walker was probably more impactful as a player than Myles Garrett is.
He was the number. Well, I don't know if he was the number one. He was one of the number 1 running backs when the league was driven by running backs.
Absolutely,
at the time.
It was the era of the running back, and he literally turned Dallas into a dynasty that only Jerry Jones could screw up.
Now Herschel Walker is not the same caliber player as Myles Garrett. He's not
No, see, that's why I said to Jay, I'm not sure how closely you followed it. Go look and see what Herschel Walker's impact was when he was a Dallas Cowboy.
Back then it's a running back era, and he was coming out of Georgia. He was looked at as one of the best college running backs of all time. Herschel Walker was
and had already transferred that success to the NFL.
You know what's funny? I saw this clip over the weekend where they did like that celebrity runs or what, like.
Oh yeah, he was world class speed.
He beat Darryl Green.
Yes, who was the NFL's fastest man for years.
He beat Darryl Green handily.
Yes.
In a sprint.
See, and I think that, so you're too young. I'm not going to ding you for not knowing that.
Oh, I think he knows.
No, I know Herschel Walker was that deal coming out of college.
And what I'm saying is, if you put the two on this, if you try to compare, and it's hard because it's apples and automobiles, it's different positions. But to Mike's point, if Herschel Walker has 5 touchdowns in a game, they're winning it. Myles Garrett had 5 sacks in a game. They got boat raced.
Now, here's the difference. The game has evolved. Back then, you didn't thought about it.
I'll give you that.
The game has evolved. And so now, the defensive end position, we started to see when Lawrence Taylor came around.
Today's defensive end is yesterday's running back.
Yes.
I'll admit that readily. And I think Jay pointed that out as well. I just think that if you can get a haul, and it's got to start with 2 first-round draft picks, I don't know how they don't think about it. And I'm telling you, they're having these conversations inside the building, too, or they wouldn't have reworked that contract to give themselves this option.
Until somebody gives me a reasonable explanation why Myles Garrett would agree to do this, you have to have this conversation.
I agree.